जब जब दर्द का बादल छाया, जब गम का साया लहराया, जब आंसू पलकों तक आया, जब ये तन्हा दिल घबराया, हमने दिल को ये समझाया, दिल आखिर तू क्यों रोता है, दुनिया में यूं ही होता है। ये जो गहरे सन्नाटे हैं, वक्त ने सबको ही बांटे हैं, थोड़ा गम है सबका किस्सा,
थोड़ी धूप है सबका हिस्सा, आग तेरी बेकार ही नम है, हर पल एक नया मौसम है, क्यों तू ऐसे पल खोता है, दिल आखिर तू क्यों।
Why do you think दिल चाहता है did so well?
It introduced a new language in terms of the way the characters were depicted, the way they spoke to each other, the way they treated each other. They did not wear friendship on their sleeve like we were used to seeing.
Why is Sholay so interesting? I hear you're a big Sholay head.
They created a visual experience that you had not witnessed on screen.
I've been a huge fan of your father for a very long time. I've listened to stuff he writes. He said somewhere,
आप इतना अगर एडमायर करेंगे अपने बाप को तो वो कहते हैं ना कि बड़े पेड़ के नीचे पौधा ही नहीं उग सकता, बड़ा पेड़ नहीं उगेगा। You have to love and admire your father and then outgrow him.
What I don't agree with, or maybe have a slight difference of opinion on, is
Farhan, thank you so much for your time.
अरे थैंक यू।
एक ना I wanted to start with a game I called कवि कहना क्या चाहते हैं, ठीक
मेरी
है?
पहली बार मतलब इंटरव्यू शुरू हो रहा है, गेम से शुरू हो रहा है।
अच्छा, पहली बार शुरू हो रहा है, ओके ठीक है। we'll set a benchmark then. We'll play a game called कवि कहना क्या चाहते हैं। मैं एक एक्सट्रैक्ट पढ़ूंगा, आप मेरे को समझाना है इसका मतलब क्या है।
चलिए मैं कोशिश करता हूँ।
ठीक है, हाँ नहीं आप कर लोगे। पहला एक्सट्रैक्ट का नाम है आसमान है नीला, ठीक है? आसमान है नीला क्यों, पानी गीला गीला क्यों, गोल क्यों है जमीन, सिल्क में है नरमी क्यों, आग में है गर्मी क्यों, 2 और 2 5 क्यों नहीं। कवि कहना क्या चाहते हैं?
कवि कहना क्या चाहते हैं? एक किताब होती थी जब हम बचपन में लाइब्रेरी जाते थे या किसी बुक स्टोर में, इट यूज्ड टू बी कॉल्ड टेल मी व्हाई। वो आपके ज़माने से शायद पहले,
हो सकता है।
इंटरनेट नहीं था, तो अगर आपको कुछ भी सवाल पूछने थे, उसमें सवाल ऐसे होते थे कि जब आप गाड़ी में चल रहे हैं रात में, तो ऐसे क्यों लग रहा है कि चांद आपके साथ चल रहा है, सूरज ऐसा नहीं लगता मगर चांद लगता है। तो देयर यूज्ड टू बी क्वेश्चंस लाइक दैट। तो मैंने सोचा कि थोड़ी बहुत सोशल सर्विस मैं भी कर लूँ और गाने में ऐसे सवाल डाल दूँ कि बच्चे जाके पूछें पापा मम्मी ऐसा है क्यों।
इंटरेस्टिंग, बट मतलब इसको एक रॉक गाने में डालना फॉर टीनेजर्स टू देन सडनली बी लाइक हाँ वैसे क्यों है, राइट? इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग चॉइस।
या बिकॉज दीज आर थिंग्स लाइक दे आर जस्ट टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड ना, कोई सोचता नहीं है कि ऐसा है क्यों,
राइट?
बट या आई मीन दिस, अगर आप सीरियसली डिटेल में इस बात की जाएंगे तो ये सवाल आपको मुझे मेरे फादर से पूछना पड़ेगा।
ओके, अनदर वन। दिल आखिर क्यों रोता है? जब दर्द का बादल छाया, जब गम का साया लहराया, जब आंसू पलकों तक आया, जब ये तन्हा दिल घबराया, हमने दिल को ये समझाया, दिल आखिर तू क्यों रोता है, दुनिया में यूं ही होता है। ये जो गहरे सन्नाटे हैं, वक्त ने सबको ही बांटे हैं, थोड़ा गम है सबका किस्सा,
थोड़ी धूप है सबका हिस्सा, आग तेरी बेकार ही नम है, हर पल एक नया मौसम है, क्यों तू ऐसे पल खोता है, दिल आखिर तू क्यों रोता है।
Explain. Quick reality check. About 80% of you are in a full-on situationship with this podcast. You show up every week, you watch the episodes, you drop thoughtful comments, but you still don't subscribe. Look, I'm not here to sell you anything. That's not how this works. But if you walked away from any of my episodes with a thought that stuck, or if these conversations have stayed with you, then subscribing is how you keep it going. It's one click. And in return, I promise you, me and my team, we promise you that we will bring you the best conversations that stay with you. So hit that button and let's keep it going.
इसे एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा, ये इट्स नॉट सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी।
A little bit, but I still want to understand. This is something you wrote?
नहीं, दिस इज रिटन बाय डैड।
By dad. But help me understand the emotion. What are we talking about? Because ये hit तो होती है,
बिल्कुल।
but it has a poetic tinge to it. मेरे को इसकी literal clarity समझाओ।
एक्चुअली फिल्म में जो इसका मीनिंग था, बिकॉज इफ यू नो द सीन दैट कम्स आफ्टर इट, ये इस इमोशन का कंप्लीशन जो है वो अगले सीन में एक्चुअली जब इमरान अर्जुन को सॉरी बोलता है, दैट्स एक्चुअली वेयर इट हैपेंस। क्योंकि उस वक्त में उसे इतनी चोट पहुंची है, उसका दिल इतना दर्द है उसके दिल में, जब वो अपने फादर से मिलता है और उसे लगता है यार ये आदमी वो नहीं है जो जैसे मैंने समझा था। एंड ही फील्स डिजेक्टेड, ही फील्स एंग्री विद द वर्ल्ड, और उसको जो एक समझ में आती है कि यू आर नॉट द ओनली पर्सन हुज सफर्ड दिस, क्योंकि ऐसी चीज़ें आपने भी लाइफ में की हैं किसी और के साथ, जैसे उसने अपने दोस्त के साथ की थी। सो ही जस्ट थिंक्स अबाउट दैट पेन, ही अंडरस्टैंड्स इन दैट मोमेंट दैट पेन is a part of life, it's a part of everybody's life, and you must accept it in your journey. Right.
I think that is the exact thing it did कि लाइफ में जब चीज़ें सही नहीं जा रही होती ना, अ पोएट्री लाइक दिस इट डज समथिंग, इट वैलिडेट्स द फैक्ट कि चलता रहे।
क्योंकि बात ये है कि पीपल आर सोशल क्रीचर्स है, कम्युनिटी इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट, नेबरहुड इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट, दोस्त इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं, फैमिली इम्पोर्टेंट होती है. तो द मोर आइसोलेटेड अ ह्यूमन बीइंग गेट्स, एक्चुअली द वर्स इट इज़ फॉर देम. Depression is caused by being alone, anxiety. The negative emotions in a human being actually tend to prop up a lot more when you isolate yourself from the world. तो जब आपको लगता है कि जिस चीज़ से मैं गुजर रहा हूँ वो यूनिक नहीं है, इट्स नॉट दैट मैं सिर्फ ये फील कर रहा हूँ, ये किसी ने ऐसा फील नहीं किया है लाइफ में, यू टेक सम सॉलिस इन द फैक्ट कि यू आर नॉट द ओनली वन. कि ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब अगर आपका दिल टूटा है तो सिर्फ आपका दिल टूटा है, लाइफ ज़िंदगी में किसी और का नहीं टूटा है. अगर आप कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ है, आपके बिजनेस में प्रॉब्लम हुआ है या किसी रिलेशनशिप के साथ प्रॉब्लम हुआ है, तो यू टेक सॉलिस इन द फैक्ट दैट दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन एक्सपीरियंस, क्योंकि ये सबके साथ हुआ है. एंड दैट गिव्स यू सम काइंड ऑफ सम एनर्जी, सम इंस्पिरेशन एंड मोटिवेशन टू मूव ऑन, आई फील.
हाँ, पेन खुद को सेल्फ सेंटर कर देता है ना, हमें लगता है कि वाह मेरी जिंदगी में कितना दुख है.
हाँ बिल्कुल. और ये रोमांटिसाइज करते हैं लोग.
राइट.
मतलब पूरा एक मूवमेंट होगा जो मतलब जो बैठ के शाम को विस्की पियेंगे, गजलें सुनेंगे. हाँ, और मतलब ऐसा दिल टूटा है कि मतलब
याद कर रहे हैं.
वी लाइक टू रोमांटिसाइज पेन इन अ सर्टेन वे, बट टू मूव ऑन. अगर आप किसी दोस्त से भी बात करेंगे जब आपका मूड डाउन है, या फैमिली मेंबर किसी, आप यार अभी ऐसा होता है लाइफ में, दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग पीपल से टू यू. जैसे होता है लाइफ में, इट मेक्स यू फील लाइक अच्छा ओके, आज पार्ट एंड पार्सल of the experience, the human experience.
And it's so built into the human experience कि कोई आदमी बिना complete tragedy के life के थ्रू जा भी नहीं सकता.
Impossible.
जहाँ होना ही होना है.
It's impossible.
दिन गिन लो.
हाँ,
ये वाली बात है. हाँ हाँ right.
मतलब जो आप देखते हैं, मतलब इंस्टाग्राम पे बहुत खुश होते हैं लोग, यार इसकी जिंदगी क्या कमाल की होगी, और फॉलो करते हैं. मतलब वो आपको कुछ 5-10% अपनी लाइफ का दिखा रहा है या दिखा रही है, और आप बहुत इंप्रेस हो कि इसकी लाइफ में कोई गम नहीं है. Everybody's got problem.
रील रिकॉर्ड करते हैं. अबे कैसे रिकॉर्ड करी रील, राइट? द थर्ड वन इज तो जिंदा हो तुम. दिलों में तुम अपनी बेताबियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम. नज़र में ख्वाबों की बिजलियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम. हवा के झोंकों के जैसे आज़ाद रहना सीखो. तुम एक दरिया के जैसे लहरों में बहना सीखो. हर एक लम्हे से तुम मिलो खुले अपनी बाहें. हर एक पल नया समा देखे ये निगाहें. जो अपनी आंखों में हैरानियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम. कभी क्या कहना चाहते हैं?
कभी कह रहे हैं कि मतलब जिंदगी में क्यूरियोसिटी, खोज एक बहुत बड़ी ज़रूरत है. जिस इंसान को लगे कि यार मुझे अब सब कुछ पता चल गया है, कि मुझे जो पाना था मैंने पा लिया है, मुझे जहाँ पहुँचना था मैं वहाँ पहुँच गया हूँ, दैट इज़ द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द एंड. एंड इट डजंट मीन ओनली मटीरियली. ऐसा नहीं कि मुझे और कमाना है पैसे, या मुझे एक और घर खरीदनी है. नॉलेज, एक्सपीरियंस, स्किल, हॉबी, ये चीज़ें भी, स्पोर्ट, ये चीज़ें भी बहुत बहुत ज़रूरी होती है लाइफ में. सो आई फील द क्यूरियोसिटी ऑफ लाइफ to question things, and questioning things actually is becoming more and more obsolete as time is progressing. लोग सवाल बहुत कम पूछते हैं, they just believe what they hear. लेकिन इस पोइट्री में कवि कह रहे हैं कि मतलब ज़िंदगी में आप मतलब कुछ नया खोजते रहो, कुछ मतलब अपने आप को constantly curious रखो. So that's what this is about.
You know, मैं इसको पढ़ते हुए मेरी सेंस इस पोएम से ये थी, मेरे को ये पढ़ के रियलाइज़ हुआ कि यार मेरी लाइफ में ना ब्यूटी और वंडर की बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस है. क्योंकि क्या हो गया है कि जब से मैं सक्सेस या मनी या एनी ऑफ दोज मटेरियल थिंग्स जब से मैं चेज करने लगा हूँ, इट हैज़ स्टॉप्ड मैटरिंग कि वो सनसेट कितना सुंदर है या वो बारिश कितनी अच्छी है. बिकॉज हर थॉट इज अ मीन्स टू एन एंड टू सक्सेस और वन ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, राइट? एंड दिस पोएट्री रिमाइंडेड मी कि ना, look back at beauty, find that wonder ki why yaar ye kya ho raha hai. And so the words that came into my mind after reading this was beauty and wonder. Curiosity is an interesting way of phrasing that, but mere ko usse the nature ka metaphor being played in very wonderfully.
Sure.
Last one. घास में है तिनके जितने, रेंगते हैं सांप उतने, क्या बताऊं है ये कितने, सांप ही सांप है यहाँ वहाँ.
ये एक सांप की ऑटोबायोग्राफी.
ब्रो यार ये क्या गाना था भाई, मेरे को याद है.
किशन चंदी ने बहुत साल पहले एक सांप की बायोग्राफी, ऑटोबायोग्राफी.
जहरीले काले पीले नीले.
हाँ, ये मतलब सिर्फ वो नागिन फिल्मों में होता था नागों के बारे में, लेकिन फिर भी उतने फिल्मों में भी इतने डिस्क्रिप्टिव नहीं होते थे. जितना कि हम इस गाने में हुए।
मतलब रॉक की जो प्रॉपर डेफिनेशन थी ना कि हेड बैंगिंग नॉनसेंस होनी चाहिए, वो इस गाने के लिरिक्स है। बस यू करते रहो।
मगर मैं आपको सच कहूंगा कि एक तो पेपर पे जो लिखा था, तो हम सब लोग ऑनेस्टली एवरीबडी वाज फीलिंग इन द स्टूडियो कि यार ये बहुत अजीब साउंड होने वाला है। जब कोई इंसान आके से गाएगा तो कैसा गाना होगा यार ये, काले नीले पीले पत्थर की हैं आंखें, दांत है नोकीले, और ये सब, और बैठे कुंडली मार के, ऐसे कुछ लिरिक्स है ना इसमें। हाँ, तो ये सब हम सोचते थे कि यार ये मतलब, तो डैड को कहा भी कि भाई दिस इज गोइंग टू साउंड वेरी स्ट्रेंज। तो इससे नहीं है, मतलब यू गेट अ पावरफुल सिंगर। तो अपना सूरज केम इन टू सिंग इट यार, एंड द थिंग इज he actually gave it some meaning and some life by the way he sang it.
The rock transformation, I agree.
It's
it plays as a rock song. Right.
Incredibly sung. So it just sounded fantastic, and it sounded like death metal, you know, and for its time.
Exactly.
And all that stuff, and it worked. Yeah.
Interesting. You know, I was telling you right before we started recording कि जब आपकी काफी सारी पिक्चरें were part of the early years of my life. In fact, मेरी the first memory of watching a movie ever in a theater is दिल चाहता है.
Right.
और मैं बहुत छोटा रहूँगा यार. What year is दिल चाहता है?
2001.
2001. So I'm 5 at that point. Right. And उसके बाद भी मैंने दिल चाहता है 2-3 बार देखी है. I've never understood Akshay Khanna's character.
Never understood it.
Like, okay, so I can see Saif, वो प्यार में पागल है, he's going to make mistakes. Amir is this fun guy who's like cruising through life until he realizes something. What is Akshay Khanna doing falling in love with this older woman? Like, what is he, sensitive guy from that era?
Yeah, of course he is. I think if you take those three friends and if you make them into one person, to me, a person like Amir would be the brain of the outfit of that person, because he's always he wants to, he's the sharpest one.
Right.
He will always have the plan and he'll always figure out how to do something, or he's the brain.
Right.
Saif to me he's actually the spirit here. He's like the happy feet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Tick.
That's what he is. And to me, Akshay is the heart. You know, the heart that doesn't, when you feel something, you don't question it. There's no brain coming into it. There's no judgment. And so to me, Akshay was the beating heart of that trio here. And he is the sensitive one. He's the most mature of the three. And I think that comes with a couple of things for him. I think one that comes with not having a father. So we don't say when his father passed away. I mean, we see him only with his mom. There's a picture of his dead father in the house. So he obviously had to grow up a lot faster than the other two. Also, he understands what maybe older women experience and what they go through, because he's been just with his mom for a while. So he doesn't look at it like us and them. There's no us and them with him when it comes to that. And which is why I feel that for him, his understanding of life, his understanding of people basically for who they are, what they need, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, is not immature, and it's not defined by what do you call chichorapan. It's not defined by that. So to me, he's really like he represents the beating heart of the three.
It is also thoda unclear na movie mein ki the relationship he has with the older woman, what is that type of relationship? Is it like a romantic love?
He loves her.
Haan, acha,
oh yeah, absolutely. He's absolutely in love with her. But again, I mean, it's my whole point in that was through him to talk about love doesn't always have to be reciprocated in the way you imagine.
Say more.
मतलब जैसे अगर आपके एक दोस्त हैं और आपको मतलब आप आशिक हो गए उन पे, मगर वो आपको समझती है, आज वो बोला तो उसको फ्रेंड जोन कर दिया है.
हाँ, sure.
That's what they say.
हाँ, right.
How does your expectation change? Do you stop talking to her? Does she remain your friend? Can you just remain? Are you happy seeing her with someone else and seeing her happy with someone else? If you can arrive at that place with somebody you care deeply about, somebody you love, that makes you a very, very strong person here.
Yeah, right.
You know?
हाँ, अगर आप if you can love her from a distance, तो आप काफी evolve हो फिर.
मतलब if that is enough for you.
Right.
कि मतलब ये जरूरी नहीं है कि because I fell in love with somebody, कि ये बहुत जरूरी है कि unless she loves me back, my love has no meaning.
Right. Right.
That's really what it was about. He absolutely loved her. She was more constrained by society. She grew up in a different time. Tara grew up in a different time. Tara सोच रही थी कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, लोग कैसे सोचेंगे. Completely, as an example, his mother herself, who thought that, "Arey, you're digging your claws into my son." You know, so she was actually more affected by society than he was. He was absolutely a free spirit, probably the one who's most in touch with
his feelings.
With his feelings.
Interesting. Why do you think Dil Chahta Hai did so well?
Yeah, when things work, you don't question them.
I was wondering if you have insight about society here.
नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं यार. I feel that in retrospect now, it introduced a new language in terms of the way the characters were depicted, the way they spoke to each other, the way they treated each other. They did not wear friendship on their sleeve like we were used to seeing. कि मतलब अगर हम दोस्त हैं तो we have to keep professing our दोस्ती to each other in some kind of way. The emotions were not melodramatic. They were something that you could imagine happening to you and your friends. And then, of course, there are the superficial elements, which, I mean, of course, are equally as important, but in the styling of it and the way they looked, the music of the film, you know, so it brought in a different kind of a culture of sound, a different kind of visual. But I think most importantly, you felt you could really, really identify with the characters on screen.
Yeah, aaj bhi to watch Dil Chahta Hai is probably one of the hardest things I can do to my emotions. Because it hits you right in that place where you don't confess to your friends how much you like them and how time is passing.
Right.
You were mentioning, you know, the last time you were in Delhi, you were probably right around how old I am today. कि सब दोस्तों की शादियाँ हो रही हैं, and then eventually they have kids and they stop calling you, and that movie hits me right in those feels, bro. Like you know, it's the passing of time that it represents very well.
और जब वक्त मिले यार दोस्तों के साथ with people that you care about, you must absolutely grab it. हम लोग बहुत busy हो जाते हैं लाइफ में. You know, और साल निकल जाते हैं and then you start realizing कि you're missing out on that stuff. And the true friends, fortunately, मतलब जो आपके बहुत ही अच्छे दोस्त हैं, करीबी दोस्त हैं, आप उनको 10 साल 12 साल के बाद भी मिले तो ऐसे लगेगा कि मतलब कल ही मिले थे. But many other relationships get lost here. Some ऐसे कुछ होते हैं कि that need nurturing more often, more frequently than others. So those are the ones कि कभी-कभी ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ दूरी आ गई उसमें, and that is unfortunate.
In view of that, for somebody who was born after, for a whole generation, for maybe many generations that were born after, why is Sholay so interesting? I hear you're a big Sholay head.
यार I must tell you one very funny thing. जब आपने मुझे बोला था ना कि मुझे याद है मैं 5 साल का था और मैंने थिएटर में गया. I remember the first film I watched in a theater was Sholay.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So Sholay released in 75. And I must have, and it played in the theater for 5 years. So I don't know which year I had gone, but I was also very young. I must have been 4 or 5 even when I went to see it. So 8, मतलब जो पहला आप देखते हैं इतने बड़े स्क्रीन पे ऐसी फिल्म जो उस तरह से माउंट हुई थी, it left a huge impact. और characters were fun. All the characters. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ जय और वीरू exciting थे. All the characters were fun. मतलब सूरमा भोपाली was fun. Jailer साहब was fun. Gabbar Singh was mind blowing.
Yeah.
All of them. You know, Basanti was outstanding. So it was a very fun film. It was a proper. It was an entertainer. जो बोलते हैं ना एक सारी फैमिली के लिए बनती है entertainer. That was truly one of its kind.
Well, it's a marquee film, na, from that era.
Yeah.
Right. And
absolutely.
Probably shaped how cinema went into the future also because a super hit उस time भी.
Oh, massive hit.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Is there something about the storytelling of it? या उसमें I can see how दो दोस्तों की अटूट दोस्ती वाली कहानी will sell. You know, there is a strong thing to that. You make a comical enemy in Gabbar Singh, and you know, but a lot of movies try that. A lot of movies have that sort of thematics.
Yeah.
इसमें इतना खास, is there something you can?
इसमें I feel एक जो इसका एक emotional core था was very very strong. Of Thakur's revenge for his family and his hands being cut. That was a big thing. We get lost in the Jai Veeru conversation. But the fact is that the spine of the film is an honest police officer who arrested a dacoit. The dacoit ran away from jail, killed his family, cut his arms off and left him to die. And then this guy hired 2 good for nothing people. And how and in the original तो he used to kill him.
अच्छा.
वो emergency की वजह से they had to change the ending. तो now the original ending is available, by the way, you should watch it. He tramples him to death with his feet.
With his shoes, right.
तो वो version release हुआ है.
अच्छा.
And that is when he cries. when he kills him. क्योंकि आपने ठाकुर को कभी रोते हुए देखा ही नहीं. जब वो एंड में गब्बर सिंह को मारता था, that's when he breaks down crying. So that was the arc of actually Thakur in the film.
It's these small things जो पूरी मूवी का इमोशनल अंडरटोन जो है ना ऐसे कम्युनिकेट हो जाता है और हमें पता ही नहीं चलता. When do you make the character cry such an important moment?
Yeah, of course. और वो आपको दिखा नहीं, क्योंकि they took it out.
Right.
They couldn't show it. So it became a very actually बहुत funny चीज़ थी जो सलीम साहब ने भी and dad has also told me on different occasions. They like end में जब उनको जब क्लाइमैक्स बदलना पड़ा तो पुलिस आ जाती है वहाँ पे. तो ही इज़ बीटिंग अप गब्बर सिंह एंड द पुलिस लैंड्स अप. तो इधर जब पुलिस वहाँ पहुंची तो हम सब सोच रहे थे कि यार अभी पुलिस भी आ गई. पुलिस पहुंच गई, वीरू पहुंच गया, जय पहुंच गया, विलेजर्स पहुंच गए, रामगढ़ के वाले सब पहुंच गए, बस अभी एक पोस्टमैन बाकी है कि सब गब्बर के लिए एक चिट्ठी लेके गए. लाइक हाउ कैन द पुलिस लैंड अप, बट यू हैड नो चॉइस बट टू पुट इट इन दैट. बट एनीवे, सो दैट्स अ सेपरेट थिंग. बट टू मी it was emotionally a very, very strong story. And then peppered with just a lot of entertainment through it all. One. तो दूसरी बात जो थी शोले की वो थी जो डायरेक्शन था उस फिल्म का, और द्वारका दिवेचा जी जो कैमरामैन थे उस फिल्म के, they created a visual experience that you had not witnessed on screen before. उस वक्त तक शायद एक फिल्म उसके पहले बनी होगी where you were, यार ये कैसे बनाई उन्होंने, was Mughal Azam. That the visual aspect, even the story was amazing, but the visual aspect was a massive highlight. Similarly in Sholay, the visual aspect of that film जो 70mm पे उन्होंने बनाई थी, जो उन्होंने स्टीरियो में साउंड रिलीज किया था, the experience in a theatre was something I don't think people had experienced before. So that made it even more likable. It's like मतलब जब IMAX हमारे ज़माने में जब IMAX आई होगी और when we went and watched Avatar on IMAX,
right.
It did something to you. मतलब the story was the story only, but you're like, यार, I want to go and see that visual aspect again.
Right.
You know, so it also had that element. अगर आप वो फिल्म आज भी देखें, that film is shot over 3 or 4 years and released in 1975. आप बाकी के फिल्में देखें जो early 70s में बनी है and watch Sholay. The technical prowess in that film is next level. जो उनका वो ट्रेन सीक्वेंस है in the beginning when the 2 characters of J.N. Veera are introduced, the train action sequence that they did, it's an incredible sequence that stands the test of time till now. अभी भी नहीं बनती यार, अभी तो VFX के साथ इतना बनाते हैं लोग. That doesn't look as good as this. It was a visceral
feeling.
Yeah, amazing.
You were mentioning about core emotions. I think Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara had a core emotion I cannot articulate, जिसने across, मतलब there is a pre-ZNMD and a post-ZNMD world in India.
अच्छा.
I genuinely think that at least मेरी generation में and so on, because when that movie released, we were like late teens, early 20s.
Right.
And it defined what it meant to sort of go on a trip.
Yeah.
So many people went to Spain afterwards. Bro.
Yeah,
like even today, I think half the tourism goes to ZNMD.
उनका tourism that spiked after that.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think is the core emotion of ZNMD?
I think is to, on the core, I would imagine is to follow your dream, to follow your path, to give, just to prioritize things that are important to you, that are not important to other people for you.
To not fall in the system, huh?
Yeah, to not become a gear in the system.
Right.
I think that's somewhere at the heart of it all.
I think there's also vulnerable masculinity and friendship that's part of it.
Oh yeah, of course. There is that. But I'm saying in terms of the larger overarching meaning of that film is that you don't have to just be a piece in a jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You can have your own story. That's kind of what it is.
Right.
I would say. I love how every generation has their own this kind of moment here. That to me is very exciting.
Like what was?
अगर मैं सोचूं ना, मैं 15 साल का था. I was 15. I was a teenager. And I went to the theatre और मैंने पिक्चर देखी क़यामत से क़यामत तक.
अच्छा.
जो आमिर की पहली पिक्चर थी, और जूही नाम है.
Okay.
That was the film that I saw, and that film to me, if you ask me, for me there was post-Q, life was pre-QSQT and post-QSQT.
Okay, give me a rough plot point.
आपने देखी नहीं?
नहीं.
अरे यार प्लीज देखो.
हाँ पक्का देखूंगा.
It's a really
पक्का देखना पड़ेगा. हाँ.
So it's a love story. It's a Romeo and Juliet story. 2 warring families.
अच्छा.
Who have some history that they hate each other. The daughter of one, the son of the other fall in love. They run away from home. So it's a very classic format of a love story, but the way it was done was interesting. क्योंकि उसके पहले there was a 10-15 years ऑफ मेलोड्रामा दैट वी वर एक्सपोज टू यार. मतलब हर चीज़ मतलब लाउडली बात होती थी, ड्रामेटिक शॉट्स होते थे जो इवेंचुअली टीवी पे चले गए, यू नो, वो सारी चीज़ें वो फिल्मों में हो रही थी. मतलब somebody to make some news, lightning would strike and the camera would crane down to your face. वो सारी चीज़ें होती थी फिल्मों में. And then even the plots were very over the top. The acting had become very over the top. And in the middle of action and not even good action, वो थोड़ा B-grade action हो गया था 80s और 80s में. कि vulgarity had come into movies, crude songs were happening in movies. So there was nothing for kids really to watch. You would watch, उस वक्त हम लोग VHS लेते थे लाइब्रेरी से और देखते थे घर पे, क्योंकि there was very few things to go and watch on screen. It was made for universal content, but there was always some crudity or something weird associated in terms of that would be a little bit unsavory. So in the middle of all of that, this film came called Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which was a clean love story, very real. जिस तरह से ट्रीटमेंट थी उस फिल्म की, जिस तरह से वो फैमिली में दिखाया गया है, कैसे लोग बात करते हैं एक दूसरे से, द बॉय द गर्ल, हाउ दे आर विथ ईच अदर, विथ रिस्पेक्ट विथ ईच फॉर ईच अदर. इट वॉज फॉर अस ब्रेथ ऑफ फ्रेश एयर एट दैट टाइम. तो उसके बाद मुझे आई फेल्ट लाइक होपफुल कि यार अभी मुझे फिल्मों में आई कैन डू समथिंग दैट अलाउड मी टू स्टार्ट थिंकिंग दैट देयर इज होप इन डूइंग समथिंग इन मूवीज.
इंटरेस्टिंग. मेरे को ऐसा लगता है माई जनरेशन विच इज द 90s जनरेशन, वी आर ऑल रेज्ड ऑन सर्टन, एक तो एग्जिस्टिंग पैराडाइम ये है और उससे एसोसिएटेड मिथ ये है. तो यू सी फाइट क्लब इज कमिंग अराउंड दैट टाइम एंड इट्स स्पीकिंग ऑफ द सेम इमोशन कि ब्रो दिस लाइफ इज अ ग्रिड, ठीक है, एंड दे विल फिक्स यू समवेयर इन दिस ग्रिड. इफ यू डोंट वेक अप एंड डू समथिंग अबाउट इट, इफ यू डोंट चेज आफ्टर सॉर्ट ऑफ इमोशंस दैट यू हैव, then you will fall by the wayside. And that's something that ZNMD did in a very Indian context, in a very freeing, liberating context. कि आप corporate काम कर सकते हो, but यार you have to make that effort of going on a trip. You know, that was the simple sort of takeaway for a lot of people. कि एक तो road trip बनती है.
नहीं, वो तो होता ही है. I mean, see, the minute you see anything where you see a group of similar aged people having a great time,
right?
मतलब वो एक जलन हो ही जाती है कि यार मुझे भी करना है. वो तो human nature,
right?
You know what I mean? आप किसी भी फिल्म को देख लें, मतलब we'll still watch movies where some people at some exotic location having a great time. You're like, यार I wish I was also there. वो तो होता ही है.
Right.
But I think ZNMD touched a nerve beyond that. वो स्पेन का है ही, and of course it's a beautiful country.
Right.
So and easy to access, easy to travel, very tourist friendly, great for road trips. तो वो तो था ही. But beyond that, I think it made people think कि यार I should do something more with my life.
Right. That's what
I think that's what really struck people.
Spot on.
People, yeah.
Tell me about 120 बहादुर.
तो 120 बहादुर, yeah, to me it's one of the important films that I feel that I've been associated with in my career. ये कहानी रेजी जो है, जो फिल्म के डायरेक्टर है रजनीश घाई, तो he is an army boy. And he, of course, his brother is now actively in the army. He's the new DGMO. जब अभी ऑपरेशन सिंदूर हुआ था, he was on TV actually briefing answering questions and doing all that.
Military operations, Director General Military Office. Yeah.
So that's him. So he has grown up in this family, and the legend of Shaitan Singh Ji is matlab like how Milkha Singh Ji is in sport. You know, it's Shaitan Singh Ji in the armed forces. And he's grown up with this legend, and he's been passionately been trying for the last, I don't know, maybe like 7-8 years to put this film together. So when he told me the story, क्योंकि मेरा आर्मी बैकग्राउंड इतना ही है कि मैंने लक्ष्य बनाई है, that's my army background.
सही किया आपने, काफी लोग भेज दिए आर्मी में भाई, गलती से.
लेकिन मगर that's my army background, that's my learning of it, that's all I knew of it. और उसके बाद of course जो ज़्यादा जो मैंने सीखा आर्मी के बारे में उस वक्त was around the Kargil war में जो हीरोज थे और वो सारे, क्योंकि मतलब वो मैंने स्टडी किया था उस वक्त, तो दैट आई न्यू. तो फॉर मी दैट वर्ल्ड इज ऑलवेज अ वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग वर्ल्ड, क्योंकि जो लोग जो वो यूनिफॉर्म पहनते हैं, वो सिर्फ आर्मी की नहीं, मतलब नेवी हो या एयरफोर्स भी हो, पीपल हु वेयर दैट यूनिफॉर्म, आई हैव ट्रिमेंडस अमाउंट ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट फॉर देम. आई फील दे आर मेड ऑफ सम अदर मटीरियल यार. मतलब वो किसी और, हाँ वो है ना, दूसरी मिट्टी से बने हो.
बिल्कुल भाई, 100%.
कि मतलब एक तरफ आपका देयर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ योर ब्रेन दैट इज टेलिंग यू दिस इज अ जॉब, इट इज़ अ करियर. हम भी सोचते हैं हमारे वर्क के बारे में कि दिस इज अ जॉब एंड दिस इज अ करियर, बट वॉट आर यू पुटिंग ऑन द लाइन इज समथिंग एल्स. कि मतलब मैं क्या दाव पे क्या लगा रहा हूँ या लगा रही हूँ इज समथिंग एल्स.
राइट.
क्योंकि मेरा क्या होता है, मेरी पिक्चर नहीं चलेगी. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा, मेरी पिक्चर नहीं चलेगी, चलो आई डू समथिंग एल्स. मैं ट्राई करूँगा एक और फिल्म बना लूँ. बट इफ व्हेन यू गो टू अ फ्रंट लाइन, मतलब द वर्स्ट केस सिनारियो इज दैट यू डोंट कम बैक. सो दैट इज समथिंग टू लिव विथ एंड टू स्टिल बी सो optimistic, to still be so dedicated, and to still inspire people to do them. To me, I mean, it's next level, boss.
I actually met, I think, I don't remember his title, but I think Brigadier YS हमारे podcast पे आए थे. I'm forgetting. He was one of the fellows जो कारगिल में इन्वॉल्व थे. उनको 17 गोलियां लगी थी भाई. He was hit 17 times. I think I don't know if Laksh interacts with his story at all, but he won some award also afterwards. Paramveer Chakra.
No, if he's alive, it must be Veer Chakra.
Yeah, right. But I'm talking to this fellow. I'm sitting across from him. वो मेरे को बता रहे हैं उनको कितनी गोलियां मारी, कितनी गोलियां कब पड़ी. He's telling me the entire story, right? And he's telling me there is a point where, you know, मेरे सारे soldiers, all my colleagues are dead. And so the Pakistani soldiers are going around shooting to make sure everybody's dead. So they come to me, I'm still alive. They shoot me 5 times and I cannot make a sound because if I make a sound, तो ये मेरे को पक्का दिल में गोली मारेंगे. And he keeps it on the down low. Then as soon as they turn, he picks up a gun and then shoots all of them. Wow. And you're like, bro, मतलब I cannot in the farthest extents of my imagination itni power. Where is this moral courage coming from? You are right. They gamble with something else.
Yeah.
Romance takes a whole different shape when it comes to army and military and these fellows.
It's something else. Commitment.
Yeah.
Is really something else.
But what is this?
कितना चाहे मतलब to imagine what it can be like. It's we'll fall short.
Yeah. But what is the story of?
So coming back to 120 बहादुर. So 1962 में जब इंडिया चाइना वॉर हुई थी, तो we lost quite a bit of ground to the Chinese in that war because we were taken completely by surprise. We were not prepared for them to attack us. Or the forces were scuttled quickly to the border. So they were way more prepared than us. They were more accustomed. This was the first proper war that India had fought post-independence. So इतना experience हमें था नहीं of fighting wars.
And we were nation building उस time.
Nation building.
Right.
और and we were not even मतलब एक तो होता है कि आप prepared नहीं है और दूसरा ये कि मतलब उतने altitude पर जाकर लड़ना वो एक अलग बात होती है.
Right.
You know, because most of our soldiers were from the plains, apart from, of course, the Gurkha regiments and a few regiments that we had in the northeast and the north. So, Shaitan Singh Ji he's a Rajput. He's from the Kumaon regiment. So he was also sent there, and he was given charge of a company of Ahir soldiers, जो मतलब plains हैं, farmer के बेटे हैं और जो कहते हैं of cowherds के बेटे. तो जब वो गए वहाँ पर तो he had to motivate these 120 soldiers to fight this one battle which has now come to be known as the Battle of Rezangla, जहाँ वो सिर्फ उनकी एक कंपनी थी called Charlie Company headed by him, और 17th नवंबर की रात को वहाँ पर एक हमला हुआ चीन की तरफ से of 3,000 soldiers attacked that post.
And we are a company of 120 people.
120 led by this one officer.
Okay.
And 3,000 Chinese soldiers attacked that post and wanted to capture that post. If they had captured that post, the access to a place called Chushul, which was the solitary airfield that there was available at that time in Jammu Kashmir, in Ladakh, in that area, they would have been able to capture that very, very easily. So we couldn't let that airstrip fall to the Chinese. So this band of 120 plains folk, farmers' kids, led by this chap, they essentially stopped these people from crossing over on the night of the 17th into the 18th morning. So a battle raged for 5 hours, in which almost all of them were martyred. There were just four, I think maybe 5 who survived. But they stopped them from coming. So this is really about that night.
Wow. Yeah, ऐसी कितनी unsaid stories that need to be told for people to understand the actual depth of the border. Sort of.
Yeah.
Right? 120 people taking on 3,000 people.
Yeah, it's an incredible story.
Yeah.
Incredible story.
Right. You know what I've always wondered, because I've been a huge fan of your father and all the sort of writing he's
you know,
done.
sorry if I may just, I'm just digressing slightly.
Sorry, please.
You know, जब मैं ये फिल्में देखता हूँ, मतलब जैसे मैंने जब ये कहानी सुनी, ऐसी फिल्में मैंने देखी भी हैं, लक्ष्य भी जब बन रही थी, what to me is, एक तो एस्पेक्ट होता है ऑफ कोर्स ऑफ heroism, of, like we discussed, commitment to the cause, the ultimate sacrifice, which is, I mean, it's exemplary in terms of what they do. The second thing, which all of us, I feel, when we watch this, should take back with us, is what is it that they are protecting?
Say more.
वो किस चीज की रक्षा कर रहे हैं? They are protecting a country, a people, a culture that we all should be proud of, that we all should help nurture further. What must it feel like? This is my imagination, obviously, but I ask myself these questions at times. What must it feel like for a person who is guarding the border when he or she reads that there are citizens in their own country killing each other?
Fair
It's
point.
such a weird feeling. कि यार मतलब this is the last thing we want to happen. We want to protect you from this happening. You know, so I don't know. Somehow I feel that a nation building by citizens, by bureaucracy, by people who handle the domestic side of things. I feel, I mean, apart from owing, of course, you owe your fellow man, but there is a service that we also have to pay back to people who stand there. It's very one way. Like, what is it that we are doing for you? मतलब आप वहाँ खड़े हैं, मतलब you could maybe not come back, but even if you're there serving in the face of the most dangerous of odds. You're keeping me safe. What am I doing for you?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sort of, I think अगर आपको nationalism की बात शुरू करनी है, ये एक अच्छा point है start करने के लिए. You know what I'm saying? Because the question is so immediate. अब आपको answer करना ही पड़ेगा. What are you protecting as a sense of nation? And then how are you? Yeah.
It is important to think about.
Right.
You know, because we always say उन्होंने हमारी रक्षा की. To do what?
और हम इसमें are we the idea? Are we the people? Are we the culture? Are we the conversation?
exactly.
Are we the present circumstances? Are we our historical
so
circumstances?
I always, whenever I watch films like this, I'm always reminded of, I mean, of course, respect towards them, but I'm also reminded of responsibility towards my fellow person. कि यार, I need to make the country the best that it can be, so that those people, when they look in, they feel like, this is what I'm protecting.
What is
Don't mess
a
with this.
sense of ideal neighborhood country situation for you in this way?
No, in the simplest way and in the most utopian way, for everybody to get along. Na?
Right. Sure.
I mean, just
I get
as simple as that.
Right.
You know,
especially in a country that is so diverse.
Yeah, of course.
right.
And I mean, that's our strength. You know, so I think just for everybody to get along, I think is important. That's where our culture lies. That's what our history is all about. You know, so to, I don't know, the more you try and like kind of, I mean, it's that classic story ना कि मतलब वो एक stick लेके आप तोड़ सकते हो, मगर जब आप
सारे एक साथ बांध दो तो नहीं टूटता.
It's that. I mean, we are strongest when we are together.
Right. On a lighter note,
Yeah.
I wonder, because I've been a huge fan of your father for a very long time. I've listened to stuff he writes. I'm actually more of a reader than anything else, you know. And so words really fascinate me.
Yeah.
I think my art form is with words. And I've always wondered what it was like growing up with such an intellectual, opinionated father. What is like a dinner table conversation with him like?
Well, to start with, fortunately, he did not try to impress his intellectual capacity onto us, as kids at least, you know. But you know, the good part or the fortunate part is that he has told Zoya and he has told me, you will learn from your own experiences. मैं जो भी मतलब कोई बच्चा अपने बुजुर्ग की बात नहीं सुनता.
घर की मुर्गी.
हाँ, कोई नहीं सुनता. सबको लगता है कि यार मतलब this person is like, and it's a generational thing. He's like, मैं भी सोच रहा था कि यार ये लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, मतलब I'll show them. Right? So he's like, it's at some point when you're feeling like now you want to sit and have conversations with me, we'll have as many conversations as you want. So he never made us do anything, which was a good thing. So we all kind of like found our own feet. Running. Lekin to have access to a mind like his, to an intellect like his, somebody who's curious about everything, interested in people, interested in history,
Unafraid to voice his
Oh,
opinion.
and completely unafraid.
Yeah.
Completely unafraid.
He'll use words like swords.
Yeah.
बिल्कुल,
Completely
हाँ,
unafraid. You know, so it's a delight. Yeah, I mean, I feel blessed to have a person like this in my life who I can just pick up the phone and call and speak to.
He said somewhere about the father-son relationship. He said अजीब relationship है मर्दों का अपने बाप से. First of all, अगर आप इतना admire करोगे अपने बाप को, तो वो कहते हैं ना कि एक बड़े पेड़ के नीचे छोटा पेड़ उग नहीं सकता. तो इसलिए वो जिंदगी भर पापा के बच्चे ही रहते हैं. You have to love and admire your father and then outgrow him. Otherwise, you'll never become a man. You'll remain a son only.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the only I agree with almost 90% of what he said. What I don't agree with, or maybe have a slight difference of opinion on, is I don't feel the need to outgrow. You know, I don't feel that's important for you to consider yourself a man.
Sure.
I don't think that's important. I think also recognizing the fact that you are the child of somebody who is an oak unto himself.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pride in that. Yeah.
I agree.
You know, so that's probably the only area that I don't agree with him. But I do feel it's important not to live in the shadow of your parents.
Right.
That is true. Or to live vicariously through their successes.
Yeah.
I don't think is nice. You must chart your own path. That's for you. ऐसा कोई रूल है नहीं लाइफ में कि अगर आप ऐसे नहीं करोगे you won't have a nice life. You know, you may. But in my understanding of what I see as human potential, सब में कोई बात होती है यार. Everybody is born with something in them. You know.
Right. There is a seed of like, genius in everyone.
कुछ तो है.
हाँ.
You know, तो I feel it's important कि आप उसे discover करो, whether it's with other people, by traveling, by I don't know, just reading, studying, whatever it is that you want to do. मगर सबके अंदर एक आवाज़ होती है जो बोलती रहेगी कि यार ये बनना है, यार ये बनना है, ये करना है. And that voice you have to listen to. I feel that's important. People who ignore that voice to me, unfortunately, are slightly emotionally amputated if they don't listen to it.
Right. Did he ever put you into reading or watching a certain kind of cinema? Was art exposure ever mediated?
You know, actually the reading came not from being asked to. It came from just watching. My mom is also an avid reader. My dad is an avid reader. तो मतलब वो घर में शाम होती थी तो they would end up reading. उस वक्त तो था नहीं कि you can sit and watch something on TV ऐसा.
Right.
Reading was the thing to do. So both of them used to be sitting, I mean, either on either side of the bed or then one on a sofa and one somewhere with some light on and reading a book. तो ये मतलब हमने घर पे देखा from a very young age कि reading seems to be something like an important thing, and as a child you want to mimic and imitate what your parents are doing.
Right.
So from a very young age, Zoya reads a lot more than I do as time has progressed. I used to read a lot more. I still read, but not as much as her.
Yeah, I think reading as a medium also has become very difficult now with, you know, screens. You'd much rather listen or watch.
Yeah, but I can't read off a screen.
No, me neither.
हाँ नहीं मुझे I like that smell of a book and that feeling of a page.
The fresh feel of a page of a book is
and
so
the smell
good.
of a book is just
right.
incredible. Yeah.
Right.
So reading was very, very important, very crucial. The film exposure actually, now that you're asking me this, came a lot more from my mom than it came from my dad. She was heavily into at that time what was the foreign film library.
Right. Okay.
So she would watch a lot of Kurosawa. She had a lot of she had Fellini films. She had Godard films. So she would love watching all these movies. And initially, मतलब जब वो देख रही थी तो it was making no sense. उस वक्त I mean Kubrick didn't make sense. We were too young.
Yeah.
You know, but as we were growing older, and that library was accessible to us, you know, so then she would be like, now you're done with watching all the mainstream fare.
Right.
Okay, why don't you just watch some of this guy's movies? So that's how I got exposed to Kurosawa first to start with. Also, when I got older, I figured out Guru Dutt. You know,
Right.
Bimal Roy.
Huh.
So all that happened through her actually, a lot more. One. The second thing that happened was both of them were heavily into music here. तो हिंदी फिल्मों के जो गाने थे और मतलब एक जो दौर था उन गानों का was just incredible. तो घर में you keep hearing these songs from these movies. तो गाने याद थे मुझे लेकिन फिल्में मैंने कभी नहीं देखी थी. जैसे प्यासा के गाने, you know, या मुगले आजम के गाने. So many films like that. जो हमने गाने सुने थे मगर फिल्में नहीं देखी थी. तो then finally when you watch the film there was already some connection when that song came on कि you're aware of of this thing, but the films came later, the music came first. But it's mainly.
Interesting. Foreign films, I spent one semester actually taking a class in foreign cinema.
Yeah.
Or that was enough exposure for me to understand कि storytelling के कितने cadences और कितने formats हो सकते हैं. And sometimes जिस कल्चर में हम रहते हैं वहाँ पे एक या दो या 5 टाइप के फॉर्मेट्स होंगे स्टोरी टेलिंग के. बट एज यू स्टार्ट ट्रैवलिंग थ्रू सिनेमा, यू गो टू डिफरेंट टाइम्स एंड यू गो टू डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस एंड डिफरेंट पीपल एंड यू यार क्या तरीका है कहानी सुनाने का, मजा आ गया. लाइक सम ऑफ द कोरियन सिनेमा, सम ऑफ द इरानियन सिनेमा, आई वाज bamboozled, bro. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, no, completely. And you know the definition of what is interesting is the definition of mainstream changes everywhere you go. Like what is mainstream in France is not mainstream in India. You know, for example, like the kind of film, like the way emotion is depicted in a film there, in a film that would be considered one of their largest successes.
Right.
Like within France, the way the treatment of emotion, the treatment of music, the way actors perform is so different.
Right.
From what happens in India, and so different from what happens in Japan, in Japanese films or in Korean films. So that's another interesting thing. तो जब आप फिल्में यहाँ बना रहे हो और लोग कहते हैं कि ये फिल्म मेन स्ट्रीम नहीं है, ये थोड़ी हटके है, the fact of the matter is, if you stay true to what you're making, you will find an audience for that somewhere else. Because it's not that the same genre or the same pitch is being consumed identically in different places. So that's a good learning when you watch those films. क्योंकि वरना आप थोड़ा डिप्रेस हो जाओगे कि यहाँ पर ऑडियंस नहीं है इस तरह की फिल्म के लिए.
I see what you mean.
You know, so it gives you a certain amount of strength, and it gives you belief कि यार मतलब there is an audience for this film. हो सकता है या ना हो सकता है या ना हो, अगर यहाँ मिल गई तो माइंड ब्लोइंग, लेकिन हो सकता है लेकिन but if I do it correctly, somebody somewhere will find an audience.
Yeah, right. Give me an example of a film that you love that nobody's watched.
That nobody has watched.
Or like, you know, few people have watched, like people listening.
Wow. Yeah, let me see now. That's a little bit, but off the top of my head, film like a film like Kagaz Ke Phool, incredible film.
What's the plot? What's the rough idea?
So it's Guru Dutt Ji's film. It's the last film that he directed, and it's a film about a director who fades from being an incredibly successful director into oblivion, and how life around him changes. And how there's also the only person who recognizes him for who he is beyond the success is this actress that he had introduced called played by Wahida Rehmanji, who's the only person who's still kind of looking out for him in some kind of way. So it actually spoke about the fragility of success, so to speak, and the illusion of success. कि मतलब जो हमें लगता है कि हमारी पिक्चर चल गई, मतलब वी ऑन टॉप ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एंड नाउ नथिंग कैन गो रॉन्ग, यू नो, एवरीथिंग इज एन इल्यूजन. You know, it takes this to go from there to another place in life. In some way, I think it was ahead of its time in the way the story was told. Probably a little bit depressing for people to see in its time, but incredibly made film and a beautiful story. Didn't do well at all. With time has been considered now to be one of the greatest classics of all time. तो वैसे बहुत सारी फिल्में हैं that didn't do well in their time, that not that many people watched. Recently to me, मतलब, and this is personal to me, which also I feel very sad about. हमने एक फिल्म बनाई थी, इसी साल रिलीज हुई थी, सुपर बॉयज ऑफ मालेगांव. शायद आपने देखी हो या नहीं देखी हो, सुपर बॉयज ऑफ मालेगांव. इट इज़ genuinely मतलब one of the best films that I have seen, and unfortunately didn't find an audience. But जिसने भी देखी है, मतलब they are like, oh my god, it's the best film that I've seen in a long time. तो मतलब ये that happens, you know, once in a while.
Yeah. It's a very sadness, particularly in the case of the first example. Sadness is a very gripping emotion to watch on screen or even read about. There's this book I've been reading because I'm in flight so often. 2 घंटा 3 घंटा. You have nothing to do, so I just pick up books and I read in my flight. And there's this book I've been reading called The Elseverians. Spelled like people from elsewhere, Elseverians, right? And it's about the author Jeet Thayil, who by the way is a very interesting fellow, bro. He's a writer still. also a rock band player. He's opened for Led Zeppelin when they were in
Acha,
Bombay
okay.
back in the day.
Right,
So
right,
like a very artistic fellow. और उस book में ना they're like short stories, anthology of his life and things that have happened in his life. It writes itself so painfully कि मैं flight में ना I'm sitting on the edge of my seat just in pain of how quickly like time passes in his and how quickly events happen that are unfortunate. Sadness is a very compelling emotion to consume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But I don't know, and also I think it matters, I guess, when it releases. Mood kya hai logon ka.
Right, of course.
I think that also plays a role.
Yeah. And at this point, there is so much content.
Yeah.
Like when we release a video, we know the success of a video is not tied to how much there is an audience for this or no. There's so many factors playing into it. There's so many competitive forces of wave at this point. Who were like your intellectual influences growing up? Were you reading something specific or thinking about some people specifically?
I wasn't thinking about anyone specifically, but I was reading a lot, like I said. So I would read, all kinds of books from, like things which are almost, written as wit, but deeply philosophical, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. To the epics of that time. Reading The Godfather as a novel was a
great experience.
Yeah,
love it.
Great experience. So that, and then many other things. I used to love reading Woody Allen's books at that time. And yeah, so many things, but people, I won't say any person as such. I don't know. I don't think if I've had people as such as...
Artists, particularly, that you looked up to growing up?
People who I looked up to, yeah, of course, many people. People that I looked up to, there was Kishore Kumar Saab, who I absolutely love. Then Ramesh Sippy actually was somebody. And then there were people in life, like, family people, who were actually more influential than others. I grew up predominantly with my mom's side of the family. And I just adored my uncles and aunts on that side. And I think all of them have had a huge influence on who I am. But not so much from the pop culture world, so to speak. Not so much.
Tell me a story about your mother that we don't know of. Tell me something fun. Tell me something nostalgic.
Well, if I have to... I can tell you something that was very interesting for me and I saw in a completely different light. And I think many things shaped me after this. She was driving somewhere. And
How long ago is this?
Oh, this is 80s.
Okay.
So she was driving somewhere and she used to love driving herself. So she was driving and she was behind another
Car.
Actually not a car, it was a rickshaw that she was behind. And she was following this car and there was a lady who was crossing the road. And that lady came and stopped on the divider, when you're waiting for the other cars to go. And the person who was in the rickshaw, as he was crossing this lady, put his hand out and groped that woman.
Oh shit.
As he went past.
Huh.
So my mom stopped. That woman started crying immediately. So she said, you come and sit in the car with me. She made her sit in the car. She followed that rickshaw, stopped the rickshaw, took that guy out, gave him 3-4 slaps and toppled his rickshaw over.
Shit.
And then went and dropped that girl home. And then when she came back, she was still in that frame of mind and she was telling my aunt that, can you believe this happened and that happened? And they were telling her, have you gone mad to go and follow? And, and so like that incident, because in my understanding at that time, was a very unmotherly thing. You know what I mean? Like you don't imagine women getting into scraps on the road.
Yeah, right,
you know what I'm saying?
Huh?
And I was very kind of blown away by that whole thing. And also it gave me a insight and maybe just a feeling at that time when it started of, if you see something like this, you have to stand up. You can't just be like, "Arey, how sad," and move on. So to me that was a slightly like key turning moment in my psyche towards her, understanding her, and also just in terms of what she represented in that moment to that woman as well.
Interesting.
That was and I found it. I just found it very. It broke the image that I had of her in a great way.
Right.
In a great way. And I was just very impressed. I was like, wow, this is like, that's my mom. You know, like, that was the feeling. But I remember that very, very clearly. Very clearly.
It's interesting because you also do this work with Mard, na? You want to talk about that a little bit? What is Mard? What do you do with that?
I mean, no, weirdly enough, like, you know, like, so it's incidents like this, jo abhi humne baat ki, growing up with her, growing up predominantly with her sisters, being in a house, तो मेरी बहन थी, मेरी माँ थी, ज़्यादातर जो मतलब लोग आके रहते थे would be either my aunts would come and stay, and then of course being married, having 2 daughters. So my close kind of emotional ecosystem, you know, my ecology is feminine here. I've grown up predominantly surrounded by very, very strong women who have careers, have plans and ideas for themselves. So when all this was happening and I saw that a woman who was out working, had a job, had plans for her life, was brutalized in such a way. That happened in Delhi. Delhi mein jo hua tha 2012 mein. And then the aftermath of that, the things that people, I mean, the perpetrators was saying, and that feeling of, it came up in many other conversations before, with incidents before as well.
Victim shaming. लड़की की गलती है, वो रात को क्यों निकली है?
रात को क्यों निकली? They should be at home.
Right.
ऐसे कपड़े पहन के जाएगी तो क्या होगा? You know, that boys will be boys.
Right.
Was another thing. And even this whole thing of the guys when they spoke, मतलब उनके भी interviews हैं for people to see, where their idea of women working doesn't suit them. That empowered woman going for a job, they feel is not correct. The role should be at home. So when I was, so it was many things came together in that moment. वो जो सालों से मतलब आप सुनते हैं जब कोई इंसिडेंट होता है तो घर में आप बैठ के दूसरों से बात करते हैं, you get very irritated and you get angry, क्या हो रहा है देश का, क्या होगा, you know, why are the police not doing anything, and all that stuff happens. और 2 दिन बाद you get back to your job and it's all forgotten. Life moves on. It's just a story in a newspaper. So that it brought it to a point यार कि मुझे लगा कि मतलब I can't be sitting at home and now just complaining to my friends and venting to somebody on the phone. One has to do something, you know, or life has been very, very kind to you. It has given you success in a area of life which is public, where you have a voice that may reach a few people. और अगर आप you have a contrary way of thinking from how those men and those boys think, it's a good idea to engage with them, you know, and kind of try and instill a new message of masculinity with them. So that's really how it began, and that's what Mard is. Yeah, that's what it stands for.
What does it literally stand for?
Men against rape and discrimination.
And it's an NGO you have.
It's not an NGO.
It's not an NGO.
No. So it's just a behavior initiative.
Okay.
तो एक चीज़ है मतलब जहाँ मैं जाता हूँ colleges में मैं जाता था, I go and engage with students. We took our music there, and we made Mard the part of the programming of that event, and to chat mainly with younger boys, younger men, who on the cusp of masculinity, you know, because जैसे अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि what is the definition of a man, you know, at what point does a boy become a man,
right?
कि मतलब मैं कितनी उम्र का हूँ कि जब मैं कहूँगा कि यार अब मैं लड़का नहीं रहा, मैं मर्द बन गया हूँ. It's not when you turn 18. It's when you start thinking a certain way. Some people become men when they're 30 years old.
Some
right?
don't even.
Some don't.
Right, yeah.
Some
we can all think of an example.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some don't even.
Right.
So the fact is, what are those characteristics, emotional traits, mental traits? What is it that qualifies somebody or makes them feel कि यार अब मैं लड़का नहीं रहा, मैं मर्द हूँ. People feel ना मैं cigarette पी रहा हूँ, मैं I've become a man. Those are superficial things, but people have those also things.
Right.
So to engage with that कि यार जब आप सोच रहे हो कि वो क्या चीज़ है जिसके बलबूते पे मैं कहूँगा कि यार अब मैं लड़का नहीं रहा, मैं मर्द बन गया हूँ. You think about compassion. You think about empathy. You think about sensitivity. You think about handling rejection in a positive way. Think about all these things. क्योंकि हमारे अंदर जो impulses डाले जाते हैं from the time that we are kids is मर्द रोता नहीं है, मर्द इमोशन दिखाता नहीं है, मर्द के प्रॉब्लम्स वो खुद अपने आप ही अंदर ही रखेगा, किसी के साथ शेयर नहीं करेगा, बट वरना मतलब he'll seem weak, you know. So there are all, and जो चाहिए मतलब he will go and get what he wants, हासिल करके ही रहेगा कुछ भी हो जाए. हाँ, जैसी भी पहाड़ मतलब चढ़ना पड़े,
जैसा भी लक्ष्य हो,
हाँ जैसा भी लक्ष्य हो, हाँ करना पड़ेगा. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I know.
So these are the impulses that you're given,
Right.
and that creates a very warped idea of masculinity in people. Okay, you're not in touch at all with a softer side of life, and that makes you a very one-dimensional kind of person here.
Sure.
You know, and when you're that way, anything that is not in that thing is embarrassing for you, and you reject it. So if you see a man, if you would see a man who has this, you'll think, "Arey, he's a wuss." Why is he a wuss? Because he's in touch with his feelings. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what
so
you
it
mean.
was just talking to boys and talking to men about that, and through that, talking to them about equality, about empowerment of themselves and of women. So that's really how it all like kind of came about, and how you cannot consider violence against women, discrimination against women, a female problem. Because it is not
The victim's fault.
not only the victim's fault, it's not being even discrimination कि तुम बाहर नहीं जा सकती हो. आप घर में मतलब ये एक बेनिफिट है लड़कों को in many parts के मतलब तू लड़का है तो बाहर जाएगा ही दोस्तों के साथ. He'll go out, he'll go on his bike, ये करेगा वो करेगा, आ जाएगा वापस. But questions are asked of the girl when they want to go out. Now you can be like, it's very unsafe outside. But who is making it unsafe outside? Men are only making it unsafe outside. So we are the ones now who have to create a safer environment. They've been trying for centuries to do it. You know, we are the partners that have not really like kind of been true partners in a sense. So that's really what the conversations are about.
Do you find कि अभी भी इंडिया में modern man has still issues with masculinity? Did you find that in your tours, or did you find that in your observation?
There is, I feel this new generation जो Gen Z हमें बुलाते हैं, I mean there's pros and cons to every generation.
Sure.
But the one pro that they do have is they are very aware of being equal with people around them. That is a great thing that they have. They do not see people as a gender or a color or a certain, you know what I mean? They don't have that. वो है नहीं उनमें. So that to me is a very positive thing. लेकिन हम लोग जिस ट्रेडिशन से, जिस कल्चर से हम लोग इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं, दैट इज पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ अस इन्फ्लुएंसिंग दिस चेंज. जो दुनिया हमें दी थी, वी विल गिव अ डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. मतलब मुझे याद है, एंड यू कैन आस्क दिस फॉर मोस्ट फादर्स ऑफ माई जनरेशन, देयर वॉज हार्डली एनी रिलेशनशिप दैट यू हैड विथ योर डैड व्हेन यू वर अ किड. हैंड्स ऑन फादर कुछ होता ही नहीं था, कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं था हैंड्स ऑन फादर का. द फादर केम इनटू योर लाइफ अ लिटिल बिट लेटर,
And if that you were lucky.
और एंड थोड़ा डिसिप्लिन करने में वो आ जाते थे, एंड दिस दैट एंड द अदर. बट इट वाजंट लाइक नाउ यू लुक एट फादर्स, इट्स अ कंप्लीटली, आई मीन वो कहते हैं ना, टू बोरो अ फ्रेज फ्रॉम सम कैंपेन, शेयरिंग द लोड. दे फॉर द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ इट आर शेयरिंग द लोड, यू नो, with their kids, with
The spouses.
all that stuff. There's a lot more happening. Is there a long way to go? 100% there's a long way to go. But the thrust, and I feel that the understanding slowly but surely seeping in with letting go of a slightly more archaic, patriarchal way of thinking, which is, it's generations here. It doesn't happen
Overnight.
It doesn't happen like this. It won't happen overnight. But an awareness of life cannot continue where it is one way for some and a different way for others just because they are not men. I think that is now become a little bit passé.
Yeah, I mean, the collective cost of male misbehavior should not fall onto the aspiration of women.
No, absolutely not.
And I mean, it's such a rich part of your own population that you've kept away from the world because of this unsafeness, because of this large cultural barrier
Yeah.
जो लगा हुआ है. And so a lot of people don't get to explore so many parts of themselves because of these barriers.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And I think you are very right, men feeling their emotions will make their lives better. आप
Yeah.
अगर थोड़ा सा रो लोगे ना तो आप खुश भी ज्यादा होगे.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
It's the same sine wave. Like वो दोनों चीजें एक साथ आती हैं.
Bro, that is why men love sport. Sport gives you an opportunity to cry.
That's a good point.
It gives you an opportunity to cry in groups.
All of us get together with beers and cry.
मतलब आपकी टीम हार गई, मतलब लोग रो रहे हैं सड़क पे, मतलब they are having breakdowns, depressed है 3 दिनों तक. Men weep. And that's an outlet for them.
That's a very interesting point.
You know what I mean? It's an outlet for men. They don't feel embarrassed showing it there. Because it's यार मेरी टीम हार गई.
हाँ, right. It's not about me. It's not about me.
You know what I mean? I'm feeling bad that मतलब so it's a weird thing. They won't cry in real life.
So every time India loses a cricket match, the next day mental health scores start going up overall. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah. So actually it's cathartic for men.
Yeah.
That's why they say men are crazy on that level about sport. I think it's very cathartic for them. They can express emotion in that, which they can't do. A lot of men can't do in real life.
Fair point. I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me how comfortable you are answering this. In view of everything you've just said, tell me the story of your first heartbreak.
My first heartbreak. Yeah, my first heartbreak was the girl that I was with. Now, names it's pointless to take. No. But the girl that I was with for about 1.5 years, and this is in my late teens.
Okay.
मतलब एट दैट टाइम मतलब जब प्यार होता है उस एज में लगता है कि मतलब अब तो मतलब लाइफ के लिए इट्स दिस ओनली. तो आई वाज इन दैट प्लेस इन माय हेड, बट शी वाज नॉट फ्रॉम इंडिया. So she had to then eventually leave and go, which I never imagined would happen because I thought her father was posted here with a company doing some work. तो मुझे लगा कि वो मतलब यही होंगे. I never thought that the father would move back to where they came from. And then eventually 1.5 years later they had to move. So it was very, very...
Did she come and tell you this or what? How did you find out?
No, she did tell me. She's like, my father's moving back, so I'm going to have to go. Of course, we'll... और उस वक्त तो मतलब सेल फोन भी नहीं था यार.
Right.
So you could either do long distance calls.
या खत लिखो.
Yeah, खत. So we wrote a couple of letters to each other at that time. But then मतलब it was very difficult to keep up with that. But yeah, so that was truly my first kind of heartbreak. बहुत ही मतलब very emotional letter of goodbyes were written to each other.
When you look back, can you imagine yourself crying at that point? Because I'm sure, bro. First heartbreak, a guy is breaking down. All your edginess is lost.
मतलब उसमें music बहुत help करता है. Everybody has a song.
Right. What was your song? Please tell me honestly.
Everybody has a song.
What was your song?
There were 2 songs that happened at that time. There was one song which was which maybe came a little bit later than this moment, but there was one song which was called Black by Pearl Jam.
Okay.
Which it is a sad song, and it is a song about losing somebody that you love. But there is one line in that यार, और वो लाइन जब आती थी मतलब ऐसे लग रहा है कि यार मेरी दिल की बात कह गया यार. तो भी गाड़ी में फुल वॉल्यूम पे मतलब गाते हुए गए, मतलब कोई मतलब रिकॉर्ड कर लो मुझे.
Right.
That line was, I know someday you'll have a beautiful life. I know you'll be a star, but in somebody else's sky. That was the line. So that used to really, really like hit the spot. Yeah.
And there was another one?
Oh, the other one was which was won by U2.
Okay.
One Love.
Yes.
Is it getting better? Or do you still feel the same? That song.
Right.
That used to also be a nice heartbreak song.
This is 80s then, right?
No, that was early 90s is the U2 song. But the Pearl Jam one is, just...
Late 80s, I think.
Maybe 1990 actually.
Okay.
Somewhere there only.
Cool. This is that era
1991, yeah.
Right. Yeah. There was something about this kind of music, bhai. Matlab, jo ye... Like, I love techno. I love this sort of electronic format of music also. I love the culture it curates also. But rock, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whole different thing. Yeah, completely. Yeah, albums was a thing. Yeah. You had to invest in an album. Right. You bought an album, you like listened to the whole thing. End to end. Yeah, of course, because albums used to tell you, there were stories in it. Yeah. It wasn't just a collection of songs. You know? Yeah, it was thematic. There was most of them were. Right. Most of them were thematic. Maybe not the pop ones. But all these bands that came out in the late 80s going into the 90s, they were incredible albums. I miss that. Yeah. You know? Right, me
वो है नहीं
too.
अभी.
Somebody sent me Dark Side of the Moon ऐसे ही casually
Yeah.
3-4 days ago, and I was like, bro, you've put me back in my childhood.
अरे यार.
Because
Dark Side of the Moon is the reason I learned how to play guitar.
I can see that.
Yeah. When I heard Dark Side of the Moon many times, I was like, one has to know how to play this on guitar. Otherwise, one is not doing life a good service. So I bought a guitar, bought the chord sheet of Dark Side of the Moon, and just sat and taught myself. So the first thing I could play was only that album. I couldn't play any other song.
It's enough, by the way. Like,
Yeah,
if you
of
can play
course.
that album, that's enough guitar, right?
Yeah, it's just the best.
Wow. You know, I've been asking this question throughout this year. Last year, I used to ask this in a different format. I used to ask, what have you learned from your father? What is your relationship with your father? Like this year, I ask, what have you learned from your spouse, from your wife? What is something you've learned from her that stays with you, that has changed the way you are?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned from her is inculcating more belief here in myself.
Say more.
Yeah, let me try and put this correctly. Life, see, when it comes to work, I'm very, very sure and very, very clear about what I want to do, how I want to do it, what film I want to make, what story I want to tell. There's a clarity that comes just very easily to me. The process of doing it may be difficult, but what needs to be done and how I need to do it becomes very, very clear very quickly. In life, I don't have that here. In life, it takes me very long to arrive at certain places where I second guess what I'm thinking a lot. And I don't know where that comes from, but it does. I guess it's just in my DNA. So through her, she really, really has, over time, made me understand that it is okay for me to really believe in what it is that I'm feeling. I don't know if I'm putting,
No, I think, let me see if I understand
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Ek to, I think, my to-be wife has done something very similar where I'll be feeling something and I'll be feeling bad about feeling something.
Yeah, correct,
And she'll be
correct.
like, it's fine. You can just go through this and it's completely
correct,
okay.
correct.
So she's put me in touch with all levels of my emotions.
Yeah.
And the second thing is there is an intuitive power about how things will be okay and how you need to keep your... Is that what you're referring to? Kind
There
of?
is that. And the ability to say no, yaar. मुझ में नहीं थी वो.
Acha.
To say no.
Were you a people pleaser? Is that why?
No, it's not a people pleaser. I didn't want to. I thought a person's feelings will get hurt. So it's not that I wanted to please them in that kind of way. I would always feel कि यार अगर मैं इसको ना बोलूँ, then this person will feel bad. And even if I don't want to do it because it's making no sense to me, not because it doesn't benefit me, because it's making no sense to me, or then it's asking me for something that I would not do. You know what I mean? Not only for this person, not for anyone. I used to always struggle with that saying no because I would जैसे आपने कहा ना, I would get racked with some degree of guilt about saying no. So she got me in touch on some level with it's okay to say no, no to certain things, which I couldn't do in the past. The other thing that she got me to deal with was, for the longest time, and actually before her, just one other person hinted upon it, but my wife completed the story. So I'll tell you both.
Yeah.
तो जब पिक्चरों में जब मैंने काम करना शुरू किया, तो जब लोग आके कहते थे मैंने आपकी फिल्म देखी दिल चाहता है, और या मैंने रॉक ऑन देखी, या ऑल दैट स्टफ, जब होती, आई वुड गेट सो ऑकवर्ड. मतलब आई वुड फील कि यार ये मतलब धरती फट जाए और मैं समा जाऊँ इसमें. मतलब यार आई कांट टेक दिस, तो आई वुड डिफ्लेक्ट. I would start talking about something else, or then speak about somebody in the film so we can start praising that person, or then the director that I worked with, and but it was very awkward for me if somebody started telling me something, like appreciating something, and it would make me very uncomfortable. The first person who pointed this out was when I was shooting with Vidya Balan on Shaadi Ke Side Effects. I had just come off the back of Bhag Milkha Bhag. So everybody I was meeting was telling me about Bhag Milkha Bhag. And I wanted to die Every she would notice it. She would notice कि why is this guy getting so awkward? Because I would just start talking about anything else. So one day she told me, she's like, you know, it's okay for you to just say thank you and feel good.
And receive the compliment.
And receive the compliment. And I was like, yaar, I just can't do it. So it would make me awkward even कोई आके फोटो के लिए पूछे या ऑटोग्राफ के लिए पूछे. I'm genuinely appreciating where that person is coming from. Like I also know कि मतलब बहुत मुश्किल काम है यार to go up to somebody and ask them for a photo. It's not easy. मतलब लाइफ में मैंने भी किया है.
Right.
जब मैं छोटा था I was very fortunate. I got exposed to a few people from the film industry because of my parents. मतलब I would watch Rishi Kapoor coming home. I was मतलब besotted yeah by seeing him. You know, would see this young dynamic actor come into the house or Mr. Bachchan when he came. I would want to go and take the autograph. मतलब legs would not move. You know, like it would feel like cement.
Right.
So I understand how difficult it is. But they were obviously way more evolved than me when it came to appreciation from the crowd or from the audience than I was. The minute somebody would come and speak to me, my palms would go like cold. And I would get very... I would come across as a snob, I imagine. कि मतलब यार ये समझता क्या अपने आप को.
Right.
But I would become socially awkward. इसलिए मैं कभी स्टेज पर जाके बात नहीं करता था. आई वुड फील वेरी ऑकवर्ड टू गो ऑन स्टेज एंड स्पीक. तो माई थिंग वुड बी कि आप एक काम कीजिए, आप किसी को बुला लीजिए, कुछ सवाल जवाब हो जाएगा, उसमें इट विल गेट हैपन. टू गो अप ऑन स्टेज, स्टैंड एट अ लेक्टर्न और एट अ पोडियम एंड गिव अ स्पीच, फ्रॉम माई अंडरस्टैंडिंग हु इज इंटरेस्टेड इन दिस, हु वांट्स टू हियर व्हाट आई हैव टू से. दैट वुड बी माई. सो इट वाज अ वियर्ड थिंग ऑफ लाइक नॉट बीइंग एबल टू डील विथ the appreciation public side of the work that I was doing. She has really helped me with this.
Interesting.
Hugely helped me with this. Of understanding that just discerning that, you know what, it's, you have to respect and appreciate the love that somebody is giving you. Like, so just opening my mind in her own way. You know what I mean? So somebody comes and asks me, आज अगर कोई आके फोटो के लिए पूछता है, if I'm with her, like the first thing she'll do is she'll nudge me, क्या? Because she knows my instinct is to be like, नहीं, you know, is to do that. And over time now it's become easier and easier and easier. So now it's pretty comfortable. But that was a huge thing. She like really helped me open that aspect of my life up.
I relate to that. If somebody ever comes to me and tells me they like my work, I'll start talking about them. And how I like them and what they are doing and how.
What is the reason?
यार मेरे को कभी-कभी लगता है कुछ लेवल पे तो मैं satisfied ही नहीं हूँ at where I'm at. So I don't really see what I do as what others might really enjoy or like. For me, it's still very naive, still very little, and I have to do more, and I don't want to settle, so I don't want to accept that compliment and tell myself good job. Secondly, it could be a little bit of self-esteem too. मतलब आप समझ रहे हो कि the chase for excellence is constantly putting pressure upon myself. I'm not good enough. I have to become better. तो कोई मेरे को कह दे तू good है तो मैं कैसे मान लूँ? Because then it's very contra to what I believe कि I'm not good enough yet. So I wonder if it is a self-esteem thing or if it is a pushing myself harder thing or if it's something I was never told how to do. Like it's nobody will believe me when I say this. All my friends laugh when I say this, but I don't enjoy attention. Right? It's so weird because what are you doing on bloody YouTube then? But मेरे को अगर public में 4-5 लोग, I'm like थोड़ा सा मेरे को अजीब लगता है. And so I related to that. I was lost a little bit.
No, I think self-esteem is an important part of it. Like I think genuinely speaking, for reasons, I mean, that my therapist and I are working on. You know, yes, self-esteem is a thing, which is why submitting to a character is so liberating.
Say more.
When somebody tells you not, I mean, it's changing now with time as I'm understanding this about myself. But to play a character where you don't have to be you, and you can be confident, and you can say what you want, and you can, you know what I mean? And you can live a certain life. It was very liberating, to not live with the defenses and the armor that's been put up in real life.
I don't think non-actors get it because हमारे पास तो एक ही कैरेक्टर है ना मैं. Like I live.
नहीं जैसे मतलब आप कह रहे हो अभी कि अगर कोई आपसे आकर बात करे कि यार उस दिन तू बात कर रहा था about environmental conditions कि मतलब ये जो fog होता है या दिल्ली में जो होता है weather conditions होते हैं, you are having a very interesting conversation with some person and you all were discussing this you'll be able to sit and talk for 15 minutes about that.
Right.
But when they'll say, और फिर तुमने कहा, then you'll have a problem. So as long as the topic is being discussed, it's not a problem. The minute it says, and you were so, this thing, that's where the problem starts. Or the uncomfortable feeling comes.
Interesting.
Right? So the work is amazing. When you're talking about the work, or when you're submitting yourself to the work, at that time you're not thinking about yourself.
Right.
So it's so liberating. क्यों उस वक्त आप नहीं सोच रहे हो कि मतलब लोग क्या सोचेंगे,
Right.
क्या होगा, you know, I'm meeting somebody in the film, मतलब मैं तो character हूँ ना, I can behave,
Right.
you know, they're not judging me, they're judging this person. When they speak to me about Adi Shroff in Rock On, they're not telling Farhan Akhtar is like this. They're saying Adi Shroff here, he shouldn't have behaved like that with Joe Mascarenas.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I see what you mean.
That is okay.
I see what you mean.
But so when it becomes a personal thing, that's where some strange self-esteem thing used to come into play. And I think you're right. It had something to do with this feeling of I'm not good enough.
I also think, and this is a leap, I also think it has something to do with tough and successful fathers and being raised by them. And I don't mean that in the worst way. It's just that when you have itna nazdeek, ek proximate example of a man who built himself from scratch, and then you have his eye on you and he analyzes you and he tells you because my father would tell me where I'm insufficient. He'd be like, you are not paying attention. Not in a bad way, but all those things also made me feel like I can be this. It's a huge mountain. I can climb this and I'm not there yet. So I wonder if it has something to do with that too.
Maybe on a subconscious level.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And I don't think कोई भी parenting without trauma होती है. मतलब कुछ ना कुछ तो आपको imprint आएगा ही from your father and mother.
Bumps and scars and bruises are a
very healthy part of it.
Yeah,
your injuries should be appreciated because they make you.
Yeah.
But I've wondered this privately, and you are right. I also think I've gotten more comfortable with how I feel about myself and these things as I've grown. And my
wife has helped me tremendously with this. Tremendously. I think again, just in instilling that self-belief, this is what I was saying, probably to counter some deficiency of self-esteem has been countered by instilling self-belief. And I think that has made me feel like a lot more open now to people when I meet them, when I speak with them. Because, I mean, you can, someday maybe you'll have some other person who I've known for years, but like a lot of people earlier used to be like, teri to split personality hai.
Because?
Because when we are out and a different time then, you know, when you go out and you're drinking with your friends and all, you become a different person.
Right. You're much more open.
Yeah, much more open. You have a great time, you're laughing and you're
going
joking
with the flow.
And all. Agle din tu milta hai sober, you're like, hi.
What you mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Hello.
They're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Right.
So wo hota tha a lot, you know, and I think now that's changing, but I don't drink that much.
Right.
But so that's one thing, yeah.
How is it different directing Shah Rukh versus directing Aamir?
They're two completely different personalities.
Right. But I'm assuming like it should be an experience. It should be a
Of
treat.
course. No, working with actors of that caliber and slash in our context of things, even stars of that caliber, is very exciting. You know, I mean, there's a certain dynamism that they bring to their roles as actors. They're pumped with confidence, you know, which is very uplifting for the crew and to work with. And yeah, but they're very different. Aamir is way more meticulous in terms of his prep, in terms of rehearsals, in terms of doing it a certain way. Shah Rukh is a lot more, I think because he also comes from some kind of an improv background from his theatre, you know, so his spontaneity is way more, I feel. Like he can do a lot more in the moment. So both have their strengths in that kind of way, but yeah, equally as exciting to work with.
We discussed जैसे हम self esteem वगैरह की बात कर रहे थे भाई. I also want to know if there is a tip about confidence or self esteem you have for men from your own experience, things that you might have learned.
I think the first thing to understand, like we discussed only, is, and the thing is, it gets very difficult in moments when you feel that something is happening to you. Because like we discussed, जो पहले हमारी जब हमने ये बातचीत शुरू ही की थी तो हमने बात किया था कि मतलब जब चीज़ें होती, जब आपने वो पोएम पढ़ी थी ZNMD से, कि जब गम होता है या दुख होता है तो ऐसा लगता है कि मेरे साथ ही हो रहा है. तो one is to somehow in those moments remind yourself that you are not alone in this. I'm not talking about the rest of the world कि मेरे दोस्त हैं, मेरी family है, I have a husband, I have a wife, I have parents, I have kids, in whichever way, whatever your structure is at that time, कि यार मैं अपने दुख बांट सकता हूँ, right? Because I feel the more you keep things inside of you, the more suppressed your confidence, because you're keeping secrets. You're so worried कि मतलब something true will come out that I don't want to say or that I don't want to share. You become very guarded. And the more closed off you get and the more you suppress your voice, it affects your confidence tremendously.
Over a long period of time, it might even bury it. Right.
Tremendously. So the first thing is that you have to find a way of sharing what's going on inside of you, even if it's going to I believe therapy is an important part of life. I feel that every person should do it.
This is a magical experience if you do it right.
I feel every person should do it. You have to find the right therapist for you. Because it's not necessary you'll find it the very first person that you go to will be the right person for you. You have to find the right person. But it's clearing your hard drive. Taki emotion, you have more space.
More bugs are washed away, right? Like that.
That's very, very important. And that in itself, when you keep... Sorry?
Please go on. When you keep...
Yeah, when you keep your
hard drive clean, your emotions clean, you automatically find the ability to connect with people more easily. Automatically. Because you're not dealing with a constant inner coping monologue. Otherwise, that's a constant thing that's going on. One part of your brain is constantly dealing with yaar, this can't come out. This cannot come out of me. I don't want to, for whatever reason. I don't want to come across as weak. I don't want to come across as vindictive. I don't want to come across as mean. I don't want to come across as rude. I don't want to come across as a wimp. Whatever it may be, right? I don't want to hurt somebody, whatever. But constantly it's going on somewhere in the background and it really affects you. So I feel that's an important thing. I think that's mainly you have to share your experiences and share what's going on inside of you. It lessens you if you don't. Separate theme, but recently, I went to this place. This is at the border of Malaysia and Singapore. This one gentleman has built this very unique society of people, community of people. It's called Network School. But basically, इसका principle क्या है कि आप सारे लोग यहाँ आओ, you self-learn and you build startups together. And so he's made an entire city do this kind of work. Right? From all over the world, people come there and it's a very new form of education. And I heard you were kicked out of college?
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry, my bad. But you know why I'm saying is, do you wonder
I had no idea this was going there. That was a serious segue.
Hard pivot, dude.
A serious segue that was.
Why I'm asking is, I wonder if you feel that there is a better form of education now that you've acquired all this success, you've done so many great creative projects, you look back and you say, do you think that education in its traditional form betrayed a lot of your creative instincts in some way and there are better ways to do education?
There definitely could have been better ways, but there also could have been better choices from my end. So both can somehow, if one is not good and the other is made well, and you choose well, you could still maybe have done yourself a service. I didn't choose well also, and I don't think we were offered great things in return in terms of what were the possibilities to go out and do.
Right.
There was no, I was interested in film. It was very unthinkable at that time, and film in terms of I was interested in cinematography. My first love when I got into this was cinematography. The first job that I had was as an assistant cinematographer to Manji, Mr. Manmohan Singh, who used to shoot for Mr. Yash Chopra all the time. So I worked with him. और जब I told my parents, I'm like, I love imagery and I love the image and I want to work towards doing some cinematography. उस वक्त आपको अगर जाके cinematography इंडिया में अगर करना था वो जो the film school, was you had to graduate in science. क्या भी ग्रेजुएशन करूंगा इन साइंस टू यू नो व्हाट आई मीन इट seemed like such a massive ask
हाँ कि मैं कहाँ घूम के वापस यहाँ आऊँगा
to go into that. I was like ना छोड़ो यार, I'll just go and work somewhere. So the most people there are very few of that generation who have come through film school. If you think about it, कि up to a certain like now a lot of जो मतलब directors आ रहे हैं, writers आ रहे हैं, they come from film school. But in my time, when I debuted as a director, there were very few people from film school. Mr. Vidhu Vinod Chopra had done film school. Yeah, he was unique in that kind of way as a director. You know, had gone and done film school, made student films and all and come back. But there were very few. Everybody else came up through this process of working as an assistant and working as as an intern and then becoming the first AD and a chief AD or working in production and coming into direction. Because it was it was too far imagined to be able to do.
Right.
Now it's easier. Now it's way easier. The choices, I mean, whether it comes to the arts, any kind, not just film, music, painting, whatever you want to do, there's so many options available to you as a child to be able to go and do it. But on the flip side of it, मैं मतलब कॉमर्स के प्रोग्राम में चला गया क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा था सारे दोस्त मेरे जा रहे हैं, which I put into लक्ष्य. That's what I loved about लक्ष्य, कि यार मतलब जहाँ दोस्त जाते हैं वहाँ पहुँच जाए and you feel like मतलब कि अब मैंने गलती कर ली यहाँ पहुँच के. So that conflict of Karan Shergill's character I could relate to completely. कि he has no idea what he wants to do. तो मतलब जहाँ दोस्त जा रहे हैं वो वही चले, he goes there only. So I went into commerce and within the first year of studying in commerce, economics, SP होया करता था एक secretarial practice, accounts. I'm like, what am I doing here, dude?
Debit credit कर रहा हूँ मैं, debit credit.
I'm like, मतलब this is so not for me.
Right.
कि मतलब ना what do I do about this? अगर parents को जाके बोलूँगा कि ना I don't want to do this, they may get angry. तो I just stopped going only.
अच्छा.
तो मैंने कहा मैं जा रहा हूँ and I never went. And finally I got caught and thrown out.
Okay. Yes, that's fun. That's a fun story, bro.
Yeah, but I must tell you one very interesting thing. So my mother was called, and she was told that listen, because मैं गया with full confidence. Now see, this is misplaced confidence.
Okay, tell me.
एक चीज होती है good self confidence and then there's misplaced confidence. ये था misplaced confidence. तो मैं पहुंचा सीधा अपने एग्जाम देने के लिए. I had not attended one single lecture. I went straight for my exam. So when I entered that hall, the teacher who was there looked at me and said, "Who are you?" So I said, "I'm so-and-so student." I showed her my ID card. So she saw it. She said, "I've never seen you. Please go down to the vice principal's office." So I went down to the vice principal's office and he categorically told me, "Son, you cannot sit for this exam because you need to have a minimum attendance of this much. Yours is 1% or less. Point in the points.
Damn.
So आप please घर जाइए. You ask your parents to come and meet the principal." Like now the cat's out of the bag. Yeah, I can't do anything about it. I'll have to go and just deal with this. So I went and told my mom. She came with me, and of course, as you can imagine, it was one of the most horrific evenings of my life.
Yeah,
that happened, But then anyway, life moved on, and I told her. She said, "Yaar, so you decide kar le. Matlab you're going to study, or then you just get a job. You cannot be idling away your time." So then I said I want to work in cinematography, and then I got that job and all that stuff that happened, and life moved on. Years and years and years later, I got a call from that same college saying that we are honoring our ex-alumni.
That's the finish to the story, huh?
We are honoring our ex-alumni who have gone out and achieved something in the world.
Shit.
So we would like to honor you as well because you were a part of this.
Wow.
So I said 100%. I went in the evening amongst many luminaries of alumni. I went up on stage, collected my award, smiled very sent that photo to my mom. I said, "Here, mom, see."
Right. My school invited me recently, said, "Can you please tell kids to not spend too much time on the internet?" I said, "I think you're asking the wrong guy to say that." That's literally my job, right? मेरे को तो बोलना है और बैठो. But yeah, you know what I think with this AI and the way information is being passed around now? doing is going to be the frontier of education again.
Yeah,
जो बीच में काफी book oriented और ये हो गया था ना, I think like everything is accessible to me with a few clicks, bro.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's going to be about experience and all that kind of learning, doing it on the job that'll matter.
Yeah.
And education is something I just think about casually and how
Yeah.
it's such an early part of people's lives. It can make or break you if given properly. If the exposure is right, if you
Yeah.
think about the right things, it can truly change the course of your life. Many questions from me. Is there a question you have for me or a suggestion you might have for me?
यार सजेशन मैं क्या दूं आपको यार?
मजा आया?
हाँ, अरे I had a great time.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Pleasure to meet you. Seriously.
Thank you.
I must say.
I appreciate that.
And you just keep up the good work, bro.
Thank you, man.
Doing some really good stuff. Just pray you go from strength to strength.
I had a
That's
great
all I
time
can
talking to you. It was everything I'd hoped for, and thank you for being as honest and as real and frankly sharing so many stories.
Yeah,
bro.
no,
I
bro.
appreciate that.
I'm being honest. You made me feel very comfortable.
I appreciate
Very
that.
comfortable.
Thank you, Bhagat.
Thank you.